The 2024 MLB trade deadline is in the books. The Kansas City Royals got better, but who did they give up? Who do they have coming in? And where does the team go from here? We're going to cover all of that and more. It's a brand new One World Away.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
And we are back like we never left. Jordan Foote, Josh Keiser, Joel Penfield. The boys are playing some ball here on the pod and in real life. JJ Piccolo playing some ball, guys. The trade deadline is a few hours in the books now. The pencils are down. The tickets are submitted virtually, literally faxed over, however the hell they do it. The Kansas City Royals have made some moves, and the Hunter Harvey trade was made a little bit before the deadline, but on the day of, in the week of, really, Kansas City adds multiple pieces. They came away with 4 contributors to the big league club for 2024. Some of them beyond that. But first, we'll start at the bottom box of the video here. Josh, how's it going, man?
I'm very excited to get into this talk with you boys. It's been a very fun day. It's been a very tiring day. I'm going to apologize to listeners already because I'm going to be very scatterbrained right now. So I did come in here planning on saying tonight we're really going to put the One Royal Way curse to the test as a immovable object of the curse itself, playing against the worst team in Major League Baseball, the Chicago White Sox. As soon as we went live, immediately Andrew Vaughn hits a home run to take the lead 2-1. So that's where we are.
The very movable object against the very stoppable force.
Correct.
Is what's happening right now.
Something's given, and it's going to give a lot, I think. But up in the air what that could be. Joel, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. The Royals were buyers at the trade deadline for the first time since 2017. They made their team better in the margins, kind of what I thought they were going to do coming into the deadline and what we talked about leading up to it. Did any of the guys that we talked about on Let's Get Transactional at all 3 iterations that we did, were we right? Did we pick any of the guys that got traded in?
I mentioned Erceg last week.
I think I mentioned Erceg very early. I think in the first iteration I might have mentioned Erceg, but I'll have to go back and look because if anyone that's live remembers, drop it in the chat because if that's right, then I need a category 2 W take here.
Fair roast, Chris. Point taken. You're 1,000% right. We were really on track to be live right at 8 o'clock. I had a tweet scheduled for 8:01 to give us a little bit of a buffer. Nonetheless, I think it was like 8:02, 8:03. So a little bit late, not quite an only weird games type late, but still not quite there. Now the Royals, man, they didn't have a late buzzer beating 5:15. People are raging, and then they have a trade come out. None of those moves this year. They made a couple of them in advance of the deadline, and then 2 of them today at deadline. I guess we should start with the lowest hanging fruit, with the one we've already talked about a little bit, Hunter Harvey, who's I think day-to-day with like a low back type injury. JJ Piccolo, he did a Zoom the other day, did not seem too worried about it whatsoever. Guys, in the context of what they've done to add to the bullpen or just by itself, any final kind of encapsulating thoughts? Joel, we'll start with you on Hunter Harvey in the bullpen.
I mean, early on, it hasn't been awesome. It's not that this is an indictment of this is who Hunter Harvey is. It's just been a rough couple of outings. But you can see why the Royals coveted him and why they wanted him. It's a big-time fastball. The split is gross. When he's able to locate the fastball and kind of tunnel off of it, he can get swing and miss. He can get strikeouts. He's just got to locate the fastball in the zone a little bit better. He got barreled up a couple of times. I hope the back injury is just a spasm and nothing more. I was at the game on Sunday with my son, and you could see him kind of like working something out every couple of pitches. He was spraying the ball all over the place. I'd imagine there was obviously a correlation there. So as long as he's healthy moving forward, then you're fine. You got 1.5 years of a guy that you can pencil into the back end of your bullpens can help you win ball games.
And on top of that, I think that they can work with him on that slider a little bit. And then potentially you have a guy that throws fire, has a great splitter, and potentially a decent slider as well. So that's kind of what I'd be looking for in that Hunter Harvey reel, which I spoke about Hunter Harvey. I think I might have been the first one in Royals fandom about potentially trading for him. But it was a long time ago. I didn't think there would actually be a possibility that they would have enough to get him, and they did have to give up quite a bit relatively. Not nearly as much as some of these other closers and back-end relievers got this trade season, which is a good thing because JJ was not trying to buy from the top shelf. He has got years of control on good guys for not top shelf prices. So great job on JJ Piccolo. I will say about the Hunter Harvey deal in all of this, that deal might have had the biggest we could go back and kind of look at everything that they traded away in this season, and that 139 pick we've talked about potentially not being that big of a deal, but in everything that they gave up, that might have been the most valuable piece that they gave up in this whole situation. I mean, they gave away a reliever, they gave away a third baseman that may be a quad A guy that is kind of how we all kind of looked at him, and then the deals that we're going to talk about in a little bit. It might be that pick that might be the most valuable one in the end.
Yeah, no, 100%. Kerry, good to see you again. We can always count on Kerry to be here. Good point, Erceg. Totally agree. Kyle, absolute company man. Hit the like button on the video. Hit the subscribe. If you're on, Apple, Spotify, leave a review, leave a like. They can be bad reviews, preferably don't. Please don't do that. We can have all sorts of interaction here. Love always having these live shows, even though the Royals lose 99 or 100% of the time we do them. Regardless, let's keep it here. We're going to bury the lead and I think talk about Lucas Erceg last, I think, because it's probably the
okay with that.
conversation
I'm okay with that, totally.
Got to leave with wanting more.
Yes, absolutely. Michael Lorenzen. So Walter Pennington sent away. Lorenzen brought back 3.81 ERA, 5.16 FIP this year. I sent that tweet in the chat. I don't think the trade is high profile enough for me to be conflicted, but I am intrigued at the very least by it. First 9 appearances, 2.96 ERA. The last 10, a 4.79 ERA. So a little bit different. Can work out of the bullpen, can work out of the starting rotation. I think this one says less about like a Alec Marsh not living up to the billing the past couple months, or like Daniel Lynch or anything like that. People are trying to stretch, I think, with this one. It's really about keeping those guys healthy, keeping them less fatigued or preventative maintenance a little bit. And man, Cole Reagan's career high in innings. Seth Lugo is hitting a career high in innings. Alec Marsh has been pitching more than he has. Brady Singer had a back problem or back problems, plural, last year. Even Michael Wacha has been having a freak injury this year and hasn't always been the most durable over the past few years. So whether it is Michael Lorenzen being a 6-man rotation piece or Michael Lorenzen being a long reliever who can occasionally spot start or depth just in case, Kerry brings up a really good point here in the comments. Insurance policy to give up what probably is a quad A guy, Josh and Walter Pennington. I know that he probably deserved a little bit more respect than that. You can sing his praises, but I think it's a perfectly fine move, even if Michael Lorenzen doesn't do a ton down the stretch for this team.
When you kind of look at it on paper and don't kind of take away what they did this year, you've got a proven major league guy that can pitch from either the bullpen or the rotation versus an undrafted free agent that was developed into a guy that a lefty with low velo. And those guys usually have a razor thin margin for error once they get to the major leagues. Now, the stuff there that he showed in AAA, he had the whiff, he had the swing and miss to it, but you never know how that's going to play once they make that jump to the major leagues. They always talk about, it's the biggest gap as ever between AAA and the major leagues. So you never quite know. It's an unknown, where Michael Lorenzen is a known. Now, I think the biggest part, and Kerry said it, JJ mentioned in his press conference that he is an insurance policy. I also think that that was the move that kind of made it okay to start putting eggs in the baskets like the Erceg trade. You kind of get a little more flexible with that rotation. You can potentially make it a 6-man rotation. You can put Lorenzen in the bullpen. You can put Marsh in the bullpen. It kind of gives you options down the road to A, conserve innings like we talked about, and B, create another known commodity in that clubhouse with a veteran presence. He's been there before. He's been the postseason and all that good stuff. So it was I don't want to say a high floor, but a known floor to go with what you have.
I think that's the way to put it.
Yeah, a known floor. So you're not going to get too excited about that, but I do think that was what solidified the platform to make these other deals that happened a little bit more possible.
Yeah, and going back to the insurance part, so just to provide some context for the innings side of it, Cole Reagans has already set a career high for professional innings pitched in a season already. Last year, Seth Lugo set a career high with 146 and a third, and that was in 26 starts for the Padres. He's already at 142 and a third. So his next start will set a career high more than likely. Michael Wacha has thrown the most innings he's thrown since 2017 is 134 and a third, and he's already about 105 this year. And that's with an IL stint already. And Alec Marsh is flirting with 100 innings, which I don't even know if he ever hit that in the minor leagues. I think he might have gotten over 100 in Double A a couple
Probably
years
2
ago.
years. Didn't he?
But it's been a while, and he's beginning to flirt with that career high. So this allows the Royals a guy that you know is a known commodity, like Josh said, known floor, known commodity, whatever you want to say, and a guy that you know is going to give you solid innings, just baseline, not terrible big league innings, either out of the bullpen or at the 5 spot. I think the best case for the Royals here is this is a twofold deadline upgrade. This is you put Michael Lorenzen as your 5th starter, and then you move Alec Marsh to the bullpen and let him go in 1-inning spurts. We've talked about that before. We've alluded to it, that maybe that is an upgrade they can make at the deadline that is internal. That I think Alec Marsh is a good big league pitcher. I think he has been overexposed as a starter to this point. He overachieved and was really good for stretches this year. It has not been as good the last few outings. And that has happened as the innings have piled up and there's more film out on him. You give him 1 inning where he can go and let the fastball work 95, 97, 98 with the multiple breaking balls, with a good changeup and a curveball. You give that guy a 5-pitch mix in the back end with an electric fastball when he's able to run it up in the strike zone in the upper 9s. Now you have another bullpen arm that you can pair with an Erceg and a Harvey, and then it moves MacArthur and Schreiber, Zerpa up again a little bit more, and it just adds more depth to the bullpen. That's the best case scenario for the Royals, and that's why I like what Michael Lorenzen could be as a rental for this team for the last couple of months.
Yep. Nope, totally agree. It's a floor-raising move that could help come playoff time. Paul DeJong is, and say what you want about Paul DeJong. I know that he strikes out 31% of the time. I know he doesn't draw any walks, but man, he helps raise the floor, I think, of the club. And JJ Piccolo talked about that. He jumped on Zoom at 5:15, 5:30 on Tuesday, whenever it was. And he said he was mentioning the right-handed power option, the positional quote-unquote versatility that he has was appealing to them. I think that to give up Gerald Rosado, who wasn't really doing any, like kind of a non-prospect at this point, too early to tell what's going to happen with him, getting a rental for the rest of the season. I've seen reports that there was a dual club option for 24 and 25, and it was like 12.5 million. But then you go on to COTS contracts and spot track and all that, and it's totally different. So I'm assuming rental until people find otherwise.
This is a rental because he got DFA'd by the Blue Jays. And
so it null and voided. Okay, gotcha.
Yes, so this was just a 1-year deal with the White Sox, so it is a true rental.
Yeah, and not that hell they wouldn't pick that up anyway, but
100%. You're right. This is pure.
You never know what's going to happen. He could be a folk hero after the end of this.
Hey, man, if he hits dongs for 2 months and gives them legitimate thump at third base, then sure, man. Like, that's all you're hoping for. And it's weird. Like, he has reverse splits. Yeah, he's actually horrific against left-handed pitching and good against righties. Yeah. So it doesn't help their problem of having to put Garrett Hampson and Dyron Blanco and all these guys at the bottom of the lineup against lefties because it's all they have. And it's like,
it takes Frazier. It should take Frazier out of the lineup more.
It should. I wonder if that's ultimately going to be a corresponding move at some point because I don't see a point whatsoever in having Paul DeJong, Garrett Hampson, and Adam Frazier on this team. Like, have 2 of the 3, and I think you can flip a coin on whether you would rather have Hampson or Frazier not be here.
Really quick, Josh, before I kick it back to you, I found this interesting earlier, and I'm not implying, and I put that in the tweet. Paul Paul DeJong 60 WRC plus this year against left-handed pitching, 105 against righties. Michael Garcia, who could be competing with third base reps occasionally, could get an off day, something like that. 85 against lefties and 72 against righties. And Kyle with a good point, sending Lofton back to the minors, which, no offense to him, addition by subtraction. We were going to bring that up in the transaction section. It sucks to see Nick Lofton go, but I think he had like a 56 WRC plus in 55 games. Like, it just wasn't working for him.
Yep.
You can play good defense. You can be a solid base runner. You can be a good locker room influence. But if you've been that bad at the plate and the team's trying to make a playoff push, the vibes aren't really as important sometimes. So this raises the floor. It gives them another option. Same thing with Michael Lorenzen. It gives them choices. It gives them a little bit of versatility. Helps guys get days off if they want. Q being such a analytically inclined, lineup diversity inclined guy, gives them another choice there. So Josh, I don't think it's a crazy good move. I don't think it's a bad move. I think that it's just a solid trade for a guy that was probably never going to see the big league club anyway.
Yeah, and you're not going to find a bigger fan. It's on the Mount Rushmore of thick Lofton fandom. It's his mother, his wife, and me, and then there's the spot up for the air. That's not up for debate. I'm in that group. At the same time, it's undeniable. You could probably ask him, and he'd probably tell you the same thing, that he's not doing what he wants to. What his role was has never really come to fruition, what we wanted it to be. I don't know what he's going to do in Omaha as far as developing and prepping a little bit more. But you are switching out a guy, again, a known commodity that is powerful, that can hit you a home run from the bench at any given at bat. And that is not something they had on that bench prior to today. I'm not, wanting him to be in the lineup every day. He does not need to be at third base manning that anymore. He's not going to be taking that bats away from Michael Garcia. But if we get into a situation like we were last night, where we needed a home run or something, some kind of pop from that lineup, you can now bring in Paul DeJong in theory and either get a strikeout or a home run, pretty much. And if he's able to reach base, then you can start talking about pinch running and stuff. But you are getting a tool, a guy that they did not have, a type of profile that they did not have on the bench at the least. And if he gets hot like he did in June, maybe you get a little bit more. And it's at third base, which is something that they needed to upgrade anyway. So in the end, it's not sexy either, but it could be a savvy move that could pay off, kind of like Eddie Rosario did for Atlanta. For all those times. He was stanky before he got there and then just turned on something. So that would be best case scenario. And there's a reason why we're remembering that a few years removed from it. But it is something you're kind of shooting for and trying to catch lightning in the bottle.
The one point that I think is interesting, and it is always kind of funny and awkward when a guy just walks 50 feet to the other clubhouse in a trade, when they're just the other team just happens to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Going from a clubhouse for a team that is 27-82 and apparently falling apart at the seams to a clubhouse that for a team that's about 10 games over, good vibes, and in a playoff spot, that'll do wonders for you. And Paul DeJong has been pretty solid this year, slightly below league average, but I mean, relative to what the White Sox are, is probably one of their best players. It's got to be a complete revitalization for you as a player mentally. Like, instead of going to the ballpark every day going, crap, how are we going to lose today, to, oh shoot, hey, I might have a chance to go play in October again. Like that, maybe it gives a little bit of a boost for him and you get better production. Something to consider.
Yep. No, absolutely. Kyle with a good point here. 30-win change will
yeah,
change your mood in a hurry.
I have never seen a worse baseball team in my life. And we watched
Royals.
We
watched a bad one a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is infinitely worse. It's unbelievable.
Paul DeJong gives the Royals a variety. Variety's a spice of life. They have options, and you guys also have an option if you are tuning in on the YouTube chat, listening after the fact on Apple, Spotify, however you want to. Our good friends at Mint Mobile have a text line. You can text or call the hotline at 913-407-6524. Send us any questions, comments, concerns you have, and we're probably going to try to feature them on the show. We're going to take those into account and we're very excited about this. It's a cool little partnership that's happening. So we encourage you to text, just send your questions in there, reach out to us that way, and we'll put them on the show. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
You know, when you discover a new binge-worthy show or a song that you just play on repeat and you have to share it with your friends so they can experience just how awesome it is too, that's kind of what it feels like when you discover Mint Mobile offers premium wireless service for just $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. It's such an awesome deal, there's no way you can keep it to yourself. Friends don't let friends overpay for wireless. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan and switch to Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you and your friends with premium wireless plans starting at just $15 a month. And if you're worried about using your own phone and bringing all your contacts, Mint Mobile has you covered, as you can bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. So ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for just $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSN, the number 1RW. That's mintmobile.com/KCSN1RW. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSN1RW. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
And again, if anybody wants to reach out with any questions, comments, concerns, good feedback, bad feedback, questions you want featured on the show, chat with us. In addition to the Discord, Twitter, X, Facebook, YouTube, all the stuff that you can do, that KCSN Mint Mobile hotline is 913-407-6524. So, guys, we are going to keep it moving on the trade front. There's one big elephant in the room that we kind of hinted at early that I think is the most exciting part of the trade deadline for the Kansas City Royals. They got Lucas Erceg from Oakland, a guy that we've mentioned on the pod. Club control through 2029, 3.68 ERA, 10 strikeouts per 9, converted infielder. There's a lot there with him. His story is very unique. I think it was Eno that tweeted it out earlier on Tuesday. The high 90s fastball complemented by a slider that opponents are hitting 0.67 against. JJ Piccolo had some interesting comments about him with the press conference that he had on Tuesday, but I wanted to open the floor to you guys first. We'll, I guess, start with Josh. Kind of immediate reactions to the trade, giving up Mason Barnett, giving up Will Klein, giving up Jared Dickey. Was it too much? Was it not enough? Was it just right? And then kind of your thoughts on Lucas coming in.
I did not really think this was a possibility, especially once we started seeing some of those deals pop through. Some of those hauls. We mentioned 5.5 seasons of control with Lucas Erceg. That in and of itself should make him almost untouchable, even if you're the Oakland A's. And it wasn't, and he's not. And we're here now, and I was in hell. I was in hell waiting for this haul to come in and be reported.
You were going through it.
It took about like 15 minutes, but it seemed like it was 75 hours. I was about to gnaw my arm off just to get some kind of relief from my situation. Finally, it fell, and obviously Mason Barnett is very talented. Obviously, I love Will Klein. I think that his upside is huge, but again, maybe he's a quad A guy. I don't know. He hasn't quite done what he needs to do to get there on a team that needed somebody to. And Dickey was very good, a lot of upside. A lot of his reputation was more of like under the radar, good signing, but nobody was like, oh, he's going to be a top 100 prospect. So you never
he wasn't even on the pipeline at all.
Yeah. He's having a solid year. I mean, he had talent. He has talent. But the moral of the story is I did not think that Erceg was gettable, especially not with the Royals system. And I cannot believe that compared to all of the relievers that were dealt today and the crazy packages that guys like Tanner Scott, like Jason Adam, like Estevez got.
Yep.
This is all it took to get Erceg. And Erceg has just as high of a ceiling and 5.5 seasons of control. Zach Bove and Brian Sweeney have got to be licking their chops after this. They have a raw clay ball that is already looking really good, and now they can make it into whatever they want to. I am jacked up. This is the kind of trade that really, really showed the savviness of this front office and the fact that they were trying to thread a needle, and they did it. And it was the biggest move they made. They didn't have to give away a farm. They didn't compromise the future too much. Great. I mean, that's an A+ in my opinion.
I think that was the thing I took away was they did a very good job of getting, as Scary said, huge value for Lucas Erceg, a guy that is really fairly new to pitching. He was, like Jordan said, he was drafted as a third baseman, corner outfield type by the Milwaukee Brewers, converted to a pitcher in 2022 or 2021, and then
either way,
the full year in 22, was in the big leagues in 23 with Oakland and had 68 strikeouts in 55 innings and like a mid-4s ERA in the big leagues. And then this year, 3.68, 41 strikeouts in 36 innings. Missed a little bit of time with injury, but has been really solid. And it provides something the Royals don't have a ton of. Throws absolute fuel. And it's average 98.5 miles an hour. That's average. That's not top. And he doesn't get hit hard either, which is very impressive when you throw that hard. Sometimes the correlation with that is guys will barrel you up if they make contact. They're not doing a ton of that. He gets swing and miss, solid strikeout numbers, a manageable walk rate, and a solid ground ball rate for a guy that throws that hard. Now, he throws a sinker around 99 as well, but obviously four-seam slider, and we talked about the slider. It's a very, very good pitch. If they're able to work the fastball a little bit more, because the run value on it's about league average-ish, if they're able to get a little bit of, work the pitch design on it a little bit, I mean, you're getting it on the ground floor of a guy that could be very, very good very quickly. The counter to that is interesting is that he's 29. Yeah. So you're already he's already, you're getting a guy that's pretty close to 30. That's basically going to be his entire controls, like his mid-30s. So it kind of for him a little bit because I don't know if he's ever going to get a second contract, but I'm sure that he's going to pitch high leverage innings for the Royals for a very long time. He's going to immediately come in to me and compete for the closing role. That is very up in the air right now for obvious reasons. It's complete. It's an incredibly savvy move. Credit to JJ Picollo for making it and to not give up anything significant. I think we talked about super significant, I guess is the better way to describe it. I think we had a question like, what's the biggest guy that you'd be willing to give up, in a mailbag a couple weeks ago? I said, I think Mason Barnett's like the top of the line on the prospect rankings that I'd be willing to give up. He's the one that goes, but you're able to do that without giving up any of your major position players that are impact. Because my first thought when I saw how much control he had, I was
put that evil on me.
The market,
put it on me.
Like, dude, yeah.
Oh shit, Carter Jensen's gonna be in Oakland, Sacramento/Vegas. All right, Godspeed, Josh. I hope you're okay. And then I saw Barnett, Will Klein, who I still think is. I'm glad Will Klein's going to get a chance. Like he's going to pitch in Oakland probably the rest of this year and moving forward. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. And then Jared Dickey, like he's in high A and was kind of up and down. I think he's going to be a good player, but I don't know quite how good. But for that to be it, for 5.5 years of control on a guy that has been very solid at the big league level this year, credit to JJ for getting that done and making that move.
Yeah. One quick point to you're talking about Erceg and how old he is. It's the same kind of argument that you can retort with Seth Lugo.
Yes,
with more tread on the tires, it's not like a normal 29-year-old.
You are absolutely correct. I was gonna get to that point, and then my brain sent me in a different direction. So that is a very.
That's why we're buddies, and that's why we're co-hosts. Is like this. Yes. We're just reading each other's mind. We don't want that to fall through.
Yeah.
So we have a couple like overarching deadline things to wrap up this segment, but I did want to quickly go through a thread that I had from JJ Picollo's availability. He said that they were discussing that trade for a couple of weeks. It came into focus yesterday that the Royals had a really good chance at Erceg, and they were like a finalist for him. He made it very clear they didn't want to give up Mason Barnett. They were not very comfortable doing it, but the years of control with Erceg. Like you're not getting a guy like that without giving up a haul.
There's no such thing as a pitching prospect, man.
Exactly. Yeah. So did that. He thinks his better days are ahead of him. And I quote, scratching the surface of what he can be. And I quote, can grow into a legitimate closer in time. So JJ Piccolo has high hopes for this guy. A, he loves the control. B, he gave up a guy he really didn't want to particularly give up. And C, thinks that he could close for this team. So the plan for him, I would assume long-term, is to do that. If not, you're going to have Hunter Harvey and Lucas Erceg as your 7-8 next year or something. If they did get a closer they trusted for the 9th, and you have James MacArthur in the picture, kind of the same effect maybe of the rotation and moving Brady Singer down, moving Daniel Lynch out of the picture completely, putting Alec Marsh at the 5 spot. You're pushing guys down. Will Smith going from the closer role to lower leverage where they can be optimized a little bit more. So all for that. Good trade. With that said, so I want to get a quick grade real quick, and then we're going to do the last 2 questions. Joel, quickly, what's your trade deadline grade for the Kansas City Royals?
I'm going to give it a B. And that is mostly due to the Lucas Erceg move. I think obviously that's a massive one. This team is still, while good, incredibly flawed. And the biggest thing they did not get was a leadoff hitter or an impact bat that could really take this team to the next level, which tells me I'm sure they didn't just do that for the sake of not doing it. I'm sure it's a move they're going to look at this offseason as kind of that get over the hump. Like, we know Salvi's going to produce. We know Vinny's going to be pretty solid behind Bobby. We know Bobby's going to be an MVP. We can get one more guy. That's what's going to move this team to the next level with the pitching that we've been able to accumulate. So that's the biggest thing that probably is going to end up holding this team back. I don't think it's the bullpen. I don't think it's the starters. I think it is just everybody outside of Bobby, Salvi, and possibly Vinny. Like, I don't know. And the top of the order, the 1 hole is such a black hole in the lineup right now. Like, That's what this team really needs. They didn't get it. It's not the end of the world, but that would have been what would have made this an A for me.
Yeah, I'm stuck between an A- and a B+. Let's say a B++ on that front, and it would have been lower. Like, I think it probably would have been a B- if they got if they addressed all the needs like they pretty much did, and the reliever they got was another Hunter Harvey type that is maybe a season and a half of control, but probably a rental, then I wouldn't be very excited about this at all for the same reasons. I mean, the leadoff hitter is a big deal, and the Erceg deal bumps that up a full letter grade almost, in my opinion, just because of how savvy it was, how good of a, I don't know, outside the box or whatever you want to call it, move. I think it's worthy of a jack up in that grading system. So I agree. They needed a leadoff hitter, but if I had to say what needed the more apples to be put in the basket, it was definitely the back end of that bullpen. Totally. Check that box. Totally. They got a guy that's 5.5 seasons of control. Check that box. They got a guy that can get strikeouts. Check that box. It's a righty. Check that box. So I think they did. The fit is awesome. The trade itself was great. I don't love the other ones. I think the Hunter Harvey deal will look better when he gets healthy, when and if he gets healthy and gets back to form and gets back to that part. I think it'll look a lot better. So I'm probably at a B++. I don't want to quite give it the A, I guess, nomenclature or reputation, what that means. So I'm going to say B++.
If I would have went before you, Josh, I would have said 99.9% of the same stuff. So I can't really come up with anything new. I'm not going to waste our time here. Let's do what deal, if any, if multiple, would you guys have liked the Royals to match? I have 2 of them. I was intrigued, like Josh said in the group chat, the Mark Canha trade to San Francisco. He is destroying left-handed pitchers still, despite not doing too great against the other side. And Eric Silva, 4.35 ERA and AA. Not doing shit really. So that was a pretty freebie of a trade. And then I don't think I would have necessarily done this one, but I was intrigued by the prospect of being a floor raiser for the team, not necessarily a ceiling guy. Brian De La Cruz to Pittsburgh for Shim. And then I think Forrester was the other guy thrown in there, like the fringe top 20 guys in that system. 96 WRC plus in 105 games. That's pretty much the floor for him. He hovers around 100, usually not a free agent until 2028. On one hand, you would hate to hitch your wagon to that in like a corner outfield spot for a few years, but also considering what the Royals have had, you wouldn't be too upset at a replacement level guy at that spot with a little bit of upside. So those two, Joel, I don't know if you had any, but those two kind of jumped out as lower profile moves that I think would have probably helped in some way, shape, or form.
I still probably would have tried to get Lane Thomas. That would have probably been the one. I think I don't think it was a crazy return that Cleveland had to give up. So that probably would have been the one, because I think it would have solved the leadoff hitter problem in some capacity. That probably would have been the only one. Mark Canha maybe, but I'm kind of low on Mark Canha. Okay, so Gary's in the chat, and he just said if you wanted a leadoff guy in outfield, it was a Jazz. I was seeing what now. Hindsight's always 20/20, and we have current stuff like Jazz doing what he's doing for the Yankees right now. 4 bombs in 3 games, like that'd be fun. That'd be really fun. Like,
talk about a change of scenery, guy.
No kidding. Yeah, like I think that was part of it too. Like, I think a lot of these people don't like Jazz just because of the way he plays the game, and the Marlins suck.
I love it.
Like, but no, like what he's doing right now, it's like anti-Yankee, and I kind of love it. Like, I don't like the Yankees at all, but he's so anti-Yankee that I'm like, yes, this is great. That would have been fun. I'm kind of swung back in the other direction from I didn't want Jazz, and now I kind of did, but I don't know if I would have wanted to give up. I probably I don't know what they would have had to give up for him. It probably would have been similar to the Erceg, more than likely, close to it.
Who knows? But who the hell knows, really, with this market? This is one of the wilder trade deadlines that I can remember. Maybe it's because I seem to get more and more immersed in it every year. But Josh, I think that they did well by themselves. There's not a ton of moves that I was like, man, the Royals really should have done that. They did pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Lane Thomas was the one I went on. I mean, we talked about last week that I was a big Lane Thomas guy. There are some gnarly splits that are not great, but I think that he has been doing well since he returned from injury, that I kind of think he erased about it. Even then, he was still walking against guys. He was still, stealing bags and playing an adequate center field. So you can kind of shuffle things around and maybe get what you needed from him. But in the end, like if Jazz Chisholm trade was the same, if I had to pick between Jazz Chisholm and Lucas Erceg, I'd probably go with the Erceg trade, to be completely honest with you. I was never a big Jazz Chisholm guy, considering the injury history, the inconsistencies that he's had. So I was never real big on that train, but Lane Thomas was my answer. And the fact that you didn't add Lane Thomas, but the team that you're chasing in your division did. Sure. I think that is the bigger part of that I really don't like, is where he ended up was the team you're chasing. So that was potentially my least favorite part about it. But at the same time, like, I think it could have happened somewhere. There's got, whether it be Mark Canha, whether it be, and maybe we still are in a situation where Paul DeJong does kind of move things around enough to where Hunter Renfroe potentially leads off at some point. Maybe Freddie Fermin leads off at some point. We don't know. Somebody's got to step up, and that's kind of where we are now.
All right, keeping it on that, and to put a bow on the entire trade deadline, if you are JJ Picollo, what is the number one thing you're going to do when the offseason starts? What do you attack? What position? What element? Is it leadoff hitter? Is it outfielder? Is it third baseman? Yeah, what do you do, and why? What's your elevator pitch for that?
I guess personally, Josh, I think you got to attack that leadoff hitter, and I think we're going to find that down the stretch. I'm not going to harp on it anymore because I've just done that for the last 3 weeks, but I think a leadoff hitter is a big deal. And now we know that guys like Maikel Garcia aren't necessarily that guy. That MJ Melendez is probably not that guy. So we're kind of moving things along. If somebody steps up here in the second half of the season, great. But if not, we need to go outside the organization to get it. And I haven't looked at the free agent class, but the trade market is still very much there. Taylor Ward is only going to cost less than he did at the trade deadline. So maybe that's still an option. Luis Renifo is a guy that I've really been involved with as well. So I think that's where you got to test it. But you got to make sure the starting rotation is also back to where it needs to be. If Michael Wacha opts out, we could talk about that. That potentially opens up something. You got Kyle Wright, but you never know if he's ready to roll. You don't know where Chris Bubich is going to be by this time next year. There's not really any guys at AAA that you got to have to like maybe wish upon a star for. So the rotation is like an offensive line. if you don't have that figured out going into the season, you're dicked. That's bottom line, because Josh said so.
Joel?
Yeah, I think it's either a leadoff hitter or just another impact bat somewhere in the middle of the order. Like I think it has to be something along that line. I don't know where that's going to come from. Whether they decide to go free agent or trade, I think they're going to find a way to do it. Because I think John Sherman has shown he's not afraid to shell out a little bit of cash. And now that the team is competing and seemingly good, then I think he's even more inclined to do so. So we'll see. But I think it's going to be something along that line.
We kind of buried the lead here, fellas. The Royals are 2-4 since last time that we talked. Didn't fare too well against the Diamondbacks. Didn't fare too well necessarily against the Cubs, but they are playing the lowly White Sox. And because we are going live on Tuesday night, you never know what's going to happen there. I think the standout performances for me, one bad, one good. The Michael Wacha outing against the Diamondbacks on, I think it was the 24th, was not fantastic. Brady Singer, the next game against the Cubs after the off day, though, he just keeps producing. And Josh, I believe he was our highlight last week or the week before.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He just keeps playing well. And the element of that four-seam fastball combined with what he has seems to be doing the trick. And he keeps messing with stuff. And the sweeper has been helping him. So those two, I'm leaving the Bobby Witt Jr. point to one of you, probably Joel. But he's going to do that breakdown. So I don't want to steal too much thunder. But man, not very much good. Quite a bit of bad, but the good news is it's 6 games out of 162, and I think that having a little bit of buffer and being 8-9 games above 500 is, not the end of the world.
Yeah, I mean, they're still finding ways to keep themselves in games, and having a games against the White Sox certainly helps tonight, notwithstanding, because, of course, we're recording tonight, and they have 1 hit through 7 innings, so that's sweet.
It's a home run.
Yeah, and it was a home run by Michael Massey. Shout out. I will say, like, we're at the point in the year where losing those games at home, like you sweep the White Sox to get out of the break. Awesome. Losing 2 of 3 to the Diamondbacks and the Cubs sucked. Like you can't do that. Like the margin for error for this team is much thinner, clinging to that third wildcard spot. Now, the good news is the Red Sox had a really tough week as well. So they were able to maintain, a game lead there. They win tonight. They'll be able to, extend that because the Mariners are up pretty big on the White Sox, I believe, or on the Red Sox right now. So they're able to come back because Lord knows we know they can get to that White Sox bullpen because I don't even know. Like they may call you or me to pitch for the White Sox bullpen at this point because they give them so many guys. So we'll see. Wrap up prior to the 9th.
Harry, we're going to try to be efficient, dude.
We are going to do our best.
Why? What's he scared of? What are we scared of here? This ain't
bottom
real.
line, you got 2 more against the White Sox, including tonight. And then you got the Tigers who just sold off some pieces and seem to be kind of trending in the wrong direction as well. So chance to make some games up and keep this thing rolling. We'll see where it goes.
I think the big thing was it kind of, especially here lately, it just highlights how big of a deal it was to address the bullpen. We got the Hunter Harvey back spasms. He's day-to-day. We got the John Schreiber injury. That looks like a big deal. And then MacArthur has gotten blown up 2 out of 3 appearances this week. So it had to be addressed, and we ran out of time to address that, and it had to be done today. And hopefully they did do that, and we can kind of start to get on the roll, and we can kind of take some pressure off this rotation a little bit.
Yeah. No, we covered a lot of the transaction and injury stuff earlier, which is fun. John Bolin with the big league team in Chicago, Nick Lofton option. We talked about that. MJ Melendez back, covered that. Drew Waters option. He didn't do anything to justify sticking with the big league team. Schreiber has a right knee patella tendon injury, which always sounds a lot worse than hopefully it is for anybody. 15-day IL, like a 10-day shutdown type thing for him. Possibly optimistic about him coming back. I almost said cautiously, but it's possibly. Will Klein recalled and then promptly included in a trade. They did sign Kyle DeGroat, and I think it was Corey Cousin from this year's draft class. Right. So those are the updates, I think, on roster front, transaction front. Josh, you had some quick thoughts about the trade deadline. I think we established how awesome it is, but that is your weekly takeaway after all.
I don't know about points, but I just want to reiterate how awesome the trade deadline is. It's legitimately, if not opening day is probably my favorite time of year, but trade deadline day is like almost PTO request worthy in my opinion, just because the
It's insane.
anxiety, it doesn't matter if you're a buyer, a seller, somewhere in between. It is always interesting and always fun, and you just cannot get enough news fast enough on the trade deadline day. It is like this is a March Madness round one type of lack of productivity when it comes to anything outside of it. Any household duties, any work-related activities for me. It's just like I can only be tuned in to one thing on trade deadline day, and it is Twitter refresh. Twitter refresh. Did Jeff Passan say something I missed? Did Mark Feinsand say something I missed? What's this guy doing? What's this team doing? What is this related to? It's just I just love the trade deadline so much. It has so much going on. It is a slow burn chaos event that I just look forward to every year. So it also detracts from a 2-4 week from the Royals. So it wipes it all away, knowing that the Royals are buyers at the trade deadline. Just saying that out loud, it just brings a smile to my face. So we're here, boys. It's gone, and the season's over, and the Royals won the World Series, right? That's where we are.
Look, man, I've never done crack or any hard drug of any sort, but like today, so behind the scenes, I've been dealing with some car insurance crap and dealing with going back and forth. Been waiting 2 weeks for that. Finally called me, set up a time to go down there and deal with them in person. As that's happening, one trade happened. Then about 5 minutes later, another trade happened. And then we're going back and forth in the group chat. And then the timeline's going crazy. And the texts are going crazy. People saying, I'm hearing this. And then another trade happens. Then we're talking about the trade from the National League. And then the AL Central makes a trade. All that stuff constantly as chaotic as I just said it. That has to be at least close to what crack is like. I don't want to find out. I don't want to compare it. But that feeling, man, I was like, dude, you just can't replicate that. You can't fake it. You have to be in the moment to experience the trade deadline. And I could not imagine being not near technology for that. Like imagine being stuck on an island or at your job and you're in a meeting, or like I literally was at my desk, had a phone, had the laptop, had the monitor, had, the tablet or whatever. I had many opportunities to see stuff and I still felt like I just couldn't get enough. So I'm with you. Joel, do you have any new thoughts on Lucas Erceg being the closer? I know that you had that as your point.
I think that's the direction that we're heading. I think he's going to get an immediate shot. I know they said he's going to come in and have the opportunity to, but given where the state of the bullpen and that they don't have a closer right now, in my opinion, James MacArthur has been a disaster the last week or so. After a stretch where he was really, really good and people had shut up about him, but now everyone's come out of the woodwork again. Angel Zerpa is still giving up a ton of contact. And of course, it's not hard contact. It's just contact that is unlucky. Chris Stratton is still just doing Chris Stratton things. There's no way that I trust Will Smith to go back in and close, even though he's been very good for a decent stretch in the role they've given him. And then obviously Schreiber's hurt, so he can't do it. Harvey's hurt. So I think Lucas Erceg, here it is, dude. It's given to him on a silver platter to come in right away and close. And he has been recently with Mason Miller going out injured.
I think he has 3 saves this year.
Yeah, and he had moved into the closer spot the last few games after, I think it was post All-Star break. And then when Mason Miller fractured his pinky or whatever. So he has the experience. He has the stuff.
Yeah.
I think this is the direction that they're heading and that they need to head for the Royals to, and it immediately works out for this team if Lucas Erceg can come in and take that spot and just take it and run. And he can be your closer for 5.5 years. That is massive. Reliever volatility be damned. That would be a massive outcome for this team because that is just insane value to get that type of leverage out of a guy.
Yep.
Low key.
Go ahead.
One quick thing. The Royals did not trade Will Smith, so you know what that means.
They're going to win the World Series, right?
They're going to win the World Series.
For again champion. Just saying.
I very briefly wanted to hit on the Cole Reagans velo conundrum. His velo was down in recent starts. People were worried about it. People said it was the innings that maybe he was battling an injury, fatigue. JJ Picollo was asked about that on Monday. after the Michael Lorenzen trade happened, and he said the medical team, the training staff has quantifiable tools to determine fatigue. No metric showed anything for Cole Reagan. So unless it was something that didn't register, it's a different thing that he's dealing with. They couldn't find anything. They communicated about it. So it's not like the Royals didn't know that his velo was down and didn't try to figure out why. But 93.9 average fastball on the 12th, 94.1 on the 22nd, 94.9 on the 28th on Sunday. So the velo's ticking back up a little bit. You're seeing him rear back and make some stuff happen. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. And I think that he's going to heat up as the season goes on, just like Josh, your guy Hunter Renfroe, is on absolute fire since even before he got hurt, but really since he got back.
Yeah. Last week he slashed 375, 412, and 750 with 2 jacks and 6 ribbies. And this is not a new thing. Like you said, Jordan, this is happening. Since May 1st, he has 132 WRC plus. And that is on top of a 10.5% walk rate, a 16.3% K rate. Now, there were some people in this fan base and potentially on this podcast, maybe wearing a blue shirt right now, that was ready to cut bait on Hunter Renfroe very early on. It was 2 years, $13 million with a player option for 2025 as a $7.5 million option. There was a lot of people ready to cut bait on that contract when he was not doing what we wanted Hunter Renfroe to do. Now we're in a position where there's no reason for him to pick up that player option because he is playing himself out of it.
Yep.
It would be a similar situation like the Michael Wacha situation. Nobody kind of saw that coming, especially not at the beginning of the season. So now we are here. I think JJ being aggressive at the deadline, he did mention this, like, we're committing to the players that committed to us. I owe it to them to make these moves, to stay in it, and to prove them right for believing in what we can do here. And I think we're going to have to double down on that when it comes in the offseason. I think if we want Wacha and potentially want Renfroe to stick around, we're going to have to rework those deals. I don't see them taking those player options at their current price. So I don't think anybody saw Hunter Renfroe happening, but man, it is fun and very vital to this lineup that it is happening.
And just a quick point on Renfroe. It is awesome when he hits a home run.
Oh, yeah.
Because he just drops the bat because he knows he just hit the piss out of it. It's awesome. I love that. That's always like a fun thing to like watch a guy that knows he just hit a ball 400 feet.
Pimp the shit out of one. Yep.
That's sick. Okay. Low hanging fruit. I don't care. Like it's one of those, like, we're getting to a point where it's like Patrick Mahomes, where like we don't want to normalize greatness. Like, I want to talk about it all the time. What Bobby Witt Jr. is continuing to do, I mean, I'm running out of superlatives. I don't know how to describe it. It's just amazing watching this guy play baseball and what he does on a nightly basis. Last night, I know it was the White Sox, so we can maybe take his 4 for 5 and make it like a 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. Like, you got to kind of scale it down a little bit. But 4 for 5, the grand slam, the 2 incredible plays at the end to seal the game on defense. One of the best individual performances the Royals have had this season by far. If we look at individual performances, he's probably got about 3 of the top 5, more than likely. The other one probably being a couple of Seth Lugo starts. So I wanted to go and look and see what he's done, because he has improved every year. We obviously know that. He was good as a rookie. He was great last year, and now he has ascended like his top 1 to 3 player in baseball. It is not hyperbolic to say Bobby Witt Jr. is the best player in the sport right now. It is him and Aaron Judge. Like, that is the conversation. So I wanted to look and see where he has improved his, like, with everything. So looking at the batted ball data, line drive rate's almost exactly like it is last year, but it's the lowest ground ball rate of his career. And the fly ball rate is about where it's always been. So he's not hitting as many ground balls, which is good, because even with his speed, like, he can hit a ground ball and still get an infield single. But when he does damage, it's him hitting a line driver, hitting the ball in the air. It's the lowest pull percentage of his career by a significant margin. It's only 31%, but it's the highest, like, up the middle percentage that he has in his career, 41%. And it's the second lowest opposite field percentage. So it's all up the middle and pull side. And he's starting to pull the ball more now, which, great take by me. The it was going to help the home run derby was going to help him pull the ball in the air. I'm going to keep saying it because I know I was right and it's awesome. I don't have.
We said it. We said it for you. We said it.
I know. I have to pat myself on the back. I don't have many good takes.
Don't hurt yourself.
So most of my takes don't age well at all. So I just had to get that one in there because it feels really good to get that one right. The craziest thing for me is he's dropped his soft contact every year by 1 percentage point. It was 16.1 his first year, last year 15.3, this year 14.7. And the medium and hard contact makes up the rest. And the hard contact is a slightly lower than last year, but the medium contact is up. So it's all hard contact or better, which we all know. I mean, he hits the crap out of the ball even when it's on the ground. Like he finds a way to barrel the ball up. So it's and now when you look at swing decisions, because I know a lot is made about that sometimes, that sometimes he gets a little antsy and he chases that slider out of the zone, like everybody does that, but I think it's more amplified when it's our guy and like he's kind of the guy on the team. He has the lowest chase rate of his career, the highest zone swing rate, the highest in-zone contact rate, 87%. It's up to almost 2.5% from last year. Highest overall contact rate, the lowest swinging strike rate of his career, and that's gone down every year as well, 12% on down. So he's making better swing decisions. He's pulling the ball a little bit more, and when he's pulling the ball, it's in the air. He's not hitting as many balls on the ground, and he's not chasing, and he's making better contact in the strike zone. A recipe to be a very, very good baseball player. So it is, and if you want to look at the defensive side too, this is what's wild. So I'll use both DRS and outs above average just to kind of show both sides of it, because DRS didn't love him last year, even though outs above average did. But his first year, -18 defensive runs saved. He was the worst, and -9 outs above average. He was the worst defensive shortstop in baseball. Last year, -6 DRS, but it was +14 outs above average. This year, and that was in almost 1,300 innings. This year, +6 defensive runs saved and 14 outs above average in 928 innings. So he's already as good defensively as he was last year, and he continues to get better. He's +24 defensive runs saved from where he was as a rookie to where he is now. If you want to make one gripe, it's that he gets caught stealing too often, but I'm going to let him run no matter what. Like, I don't care. Like, more often than not, I'm going to trust that he makes the right decision because he's such a good base runner. He maybe sees to pick and choose the spots a little more, and maybe we just see him use his speed going first to third and maybe not stealing as many bases now that he's making a lot of money. And they kind of Mike Trout him a little bit. But that's what makes Bobby, like, is the ability for him to take second or take third. So we'll see. But the improvements, it's so impressive to see a guy improve the way he has in almost every facet of his game, and to see it and he's only 24. That's what's crazy. And what's also wild is I think he's done. Like, this is not apex Bobby Witt Jr. I think if he really takes to the pulling the ball in the air thing, like what he's done pretty much post Derby, and he takes that moving forward, he could have a Ronald Acuna 40-70. Or he could flirt with 45-50 homers as a shortstop. I do not think that's maybe like a 99th percentile outcome.
But it's not impossible.
Would you put it past Bobby Witt Jr. to get to the 99th percentile outcome? Absolutely not.
No.
So he continues to be amazing. He continues to be incredible. He's going to be at worst third in MVP and probably second, because Aaron Judge won't stop hitting home runs for some stupid reason.
He'll get hurt. He's going to get hurt.
That's the path. I've seen people talk about that Bobby should be the MVP. And I don't want to wish injury upon anybody because I love Aaron Judge. I think he's awesome for the sport. That is the path, is if Aaron Judge goes down with an injury, which can't rule it out.
Has happened.
Dude's been hurt. But when he's healthy, I mean, he's going to pop 60 homers. So, and if Aaron Judge pops 60, 65 homers again this year, which he might, then he's going to win MVP. Bobby's going to finish second, but it would be an MVP most years because it's a 30-30 type season.
A guy who I think is at his 99th percentile outcome, at least since the beginning of June, is Kyle Isbel. in 113 plate appearances. He's slashing 273, 330, 465 with a 117 WRC plus. Walking 7% of the time, striking out 20% of the time, 324 BABIP. The ISO is almost 200, 9 extra base hits. What he's doing well, he's improved against off-speed pitches, so his batting average is 53 points higher this year than it was last year. The slugging percentage is up 109 points, so very marked improvement from 214 to 323. In that regard, he hasn't been good. He's just been less bad. His ground ball rate career high, pop-up rate career low. He's not getting shredded in the heart of the zone. -10 value last year, -3 value this year. Career best zone contact percentage, career best chase contact percentage. The whiff rate's the career low for him. So making a ton of contact, and even though it's not necessarily quality, because he still doesn't have much power in the bat, the launch angle is almost too low this year. He's topping way more pitches than he ever has. The ceiling for Kyle Isbel is capped by the power that he doesn't have, the low walk rate he's always going to have, the ground ball approach that he's committed to, it seems, or at least fallen into this year. But the floor has also been set with him. 95th or higher percentile in base running run value, outs above average. The jump is fantastic in center field. The fielding run value is 90th percentile. So he's giving you the great defense still, but he's been better at the plate. And really in the past couple of months, he's been above average at the plate. I think that he's probably riding a hot wave. It's going to come down. I don't think this is who Kyle Isbel is, but he's worth 1.1 F-WAR in roughly the same amount of games as last year. He's going to finish the year playing more of them. God willing, he doesn't get hurt. So this is the version of Kyle Isbel, I think, that can hold down center field for the Royals through his prime and be an okay, passable, completely fine end of the order hitter. Now, when the regression hits, how is he going to look? That's probably going to determine, I think, how he heads into the offseason. But he might time this out where if he has an okay August and September, the numbers look fine, and they say, okay, well, you can stick around and be a part of the plan. So you would have asked me a month and a half, 2 months ago, I'd be like, this is Kyle Isbel's last year getting that type of reps in center field. But now I'm not too certain about that.
Yeah, might have earned it. We got a Hunter Harvey sighting in the 8th tonight.
Ooh.
Okay, well, that's a good sign. But who the fresh hell's getting the 9th inning?
I think we know that.
Joel, you run out there real quick and play.
That'd be 3 days in a row. Would that be 3 days in a row?
Yes, I think.
Yeah, that would be. So probably not.
You're gonna see
him honestly,
again.
No,
I think yeah.
No, Sam Long.
Mm.
I think it's Sam Long.
This is great for anyone who listens in the morning too.
Yeah, this is gonna be great because we're just sitting around like idiots. Like, yeah.
My beer's almost gone, so we need to bring it home. We talk about bets.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, let's talk about bets. They do finish up Chicago on Wednesday. Series against Detroit is a 4-gamer. My bet, I cashed the under on fading Kyle Isbel just after. I've been Kyle Isbel centric the past few weeks. I want to give him props. I also want to bring, the expectations back down after doing so. I think the Royals beat the Tigers in the series 3-1. Or they could sweep them, but either way, they're not going to split. They're not going to lose. I think that they take that series. It's a good bounce back opportunity for them. I think that they could hold their own. It's on the road. If I recall correctly, it's a tough place to play. Detroit's season, realistically, for playoff purposes, is on life support right now. Like, they need to get hot, and stay hot if they want to make a run. They're right around where I thought they'd be this year. I thought they'd be the Royals would be one tick lower. It's completely different this season, but that's my bet. Chris, can either of us three be put in? You don't want me out there. These guys have seen me throw, I think it was 52 or was it 59, 48?
40,
like it was
49,
something,
baby, 49.
It was bad, man. So you don't want me out there. It could be like a optical illusion thing where they're so caught off guard by how slow I throw that they don't take me out of the yard. But
if I go out there, get ready to see some high spin fastballs at 67 miles an hour,
and then a trainer's visit.
I'll face one batter. My UCL is just like shattered into a million pieces, and I walk off the field with the big league check. So it's fine.
Yeah. Josh, what you got?
My bet last week was Hunter Harvey over 4.5 Ks. It did not. He struck out 0 in 1.5 or 1 2/3 innings pitch. So that was a loser. But we're back on the track. We're back on the horse this week. We're coming out with a W this week when Cole Riggins has a quality start against Detroit. Before this week's non-quality start that he had, Riggins had 6 starts that weren't quality. The game after those starts, he has followed that up with a quality start 5 of those 6 times. So it's going to happen in Detroit. We're going to see a quality start. I feel like it's going to be a dominant start from Cole Riggins, and that's what we're going to see. So go ahead and cash that right now, and let's get rolling. Joel, where are you at?
So I had Vinny over half a homer this past week. He did not. I was hoping that maybe he was going to get hot for the weekend. I was wrong. But I'm going to triple down on my take about Lucas Erceg. Sorry, guys. Over 1.5 saves. I think they're going to handle Detroit and just continue to beat teams that they should continue to beat. And they're going to give him an opportunity because for the reason we just talked about a couple minutes ago, who's getting the 9th? Like, it's terrifying to think about. I have no idea. And it's what's the thing for I think you should leave. I don't know what any of this is, and I'm scared. Like, that's how I feel.
I don't know what this is, and I'm fucking scared.
Yes, exactly. So I think you just give it to Lucas Erceg, see if he can handle it. And if he goes out, I think he's going to go out there, get a couple opportunities. And if he closes out a couple of games, then we have our closer in Kansas City.
Man, we covered a lot. If you guys want to drop your thoughts, you can do it in the YouTube comments after the fact. You can do it on Apple, Spotify, leave a review. Feedback there. You can also hit the text line brought to you and powered by Mint Mobile. It's 913-407-6524. Again, that's 913-407-6524. We're going to try to answer those questions as much as we can on the show and bring those comments on and kind of have an interactive component and let you guys be a part of the show. So extremely grateful for everyone who tuned in to the live reaction to the trade deadline after the fact. Apple, Spotify, again, however you listen to the podcast, thank you a ton. Guys, thank you for helping me out with this. Nick Springer, thank you for producing this mammoth of a podcast. We'll be back. We're going to hit minor leagues heavy next week. I know that we've neglected that. So until then, take care, stay safe, and we'll talk next week.